AM 970, your community-minded station. Good morning, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Christian said, Mid Island, Frederick said, good morning up there in Massachusetts, Texas, Florida, South Carolina, New York, North Carolina. I mean, hey, listen, good morning around the world. People say that I listen, so I just saying, telling everyone good morning. Good morning to those of you listening on Facebook, YouTube, whatever the means you're listening to us on. Good morning. This is another episode of Reflections. I was thinking of changing the name right now to The Blind Perspective because dog ain't there wrong. But no, I ain't gonna do dog so bad. You know, it's another Thursday. You know why I like to say somebody get paid today. I don't know if I get paid today. I don't know if you get paid today. I know Thursday is payday. So are you Friday worshippers? Hey, sorry for you guys. I don't know anybody that get paid on Friday. But Thursday, I know is the day that somebody get paid. So do not spend it all in one place. You know, I remember to set aside for the rainy day. All right. I had something in my car and I keep forgetting to let it out because I ain't get the time to do it. So now as I have the time right now, I can do it. I remember a few weeks ago we had St. Thomas Carnival. And I don't know if you remember that Bytron had the gall to say they're gonna have a shuttle taking people to and from the village and all that stuff. I remember that. So my question is to Bytron and the powers that be. What happened to St. Croix? What happened to St. Croix when we having our village festival and thing? We aren't entitled to a shuttle for them and those who don't have a vehicle, a shuttle to go down to the village and enjoy the village and so forth, like them in St. Thomas. I mean, come on. You do it for one, do it for the next one. I mean, the thing is so, like, you guys have a bias against us over here in St. Croix. People that say it's not a St. Thomas, St. Croix thing. But it'll be so obvious, you know? Why is it you have a shuttle taking people to the village when it's carnival time in St. Thomas? But for St. Croix, we got one parade and thing going on down here. We ain't got no shuttle. You get to you better bum a ride with whoever it is going on there because if you don't have a ride, bum a ride with somebody to get on there. You think that's fair? I don't think that's fair. I think they need to run just like how they do it in St. Thomas. They need to do it for us over here in St. Croix because there's a lot of people that ain't got no vehicle to drive. They don't have cars. That would probably like to go to the village at least, but can't get there because there's no transportation. And guess what? They ain't got nobody, no taxi bus running at night. So what are they gonna do? So what are they gonna do? Tell us what you think about that. The number to call is 340-773-0390 or 340-773-0490. Give us your thoughts on that. I
His
know it's been a couple of weeks, but
Jared
still,
Cam.
I got out in my crowd.
His Cam. You got down. Cam. No, his Cam. He's too high, he's too low in the camera. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Canton.
Good morning. Good morning.
Uh,
Good morning,
Yeah, I
brother.
have my guest, well, out of studio, Mr. Canton. Welcome to the Blind Perspective.
Oh, good to be here. Good to be here. Good to be here. Okay. And you know, I hear you this morning, and I feel you because you're getting the same 6 for 9 story now for you rolling years. And I have been in a few conversations along the way with folks from St. Thomas. Some of them get very upset that they think that somehow or the other, all we don't do is complain.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what it is.
I don't understand the thinking, but if you could have a shuttle bus to go to the village in St. Thomas, why you can't have a shuttle bus in St. Croix to go to the village?
Yeah.
You know, I go back to when we had Tempo Turns One
Oh, yeah.
all the way out to East End. Vitran was running, and you know, all of St. Croix could take advantage of that opportunity.
Right.
And it is nothing short of hypocrisy for them to suggest that somehow or the other we're making a big thing out of a little thing. Uh, you know, there are a lot of things that okay. Now, the key here is I really have no malice or negative feelings for my brothers and sisters in St. Thomas, and I want to move on from that angle. I want to come back to the St. Croix angle because they have a lot of people here in St. Croix. They see what's going on, okay? They see what's going on, but they're not speaking up and they're not showing up. Okay, you got my poor brother there, Mr. Foy. Okay, got people looking to do wellness check on him because they don't see him on the radio no more because he got to the point where he realized in his mind that everybody want a protester as long as it ain't them.
Right. But
Everybody want a fireborn and except that they don't want to be part of the crew. They want the emancipation, but they don't want to show up in Ferrickstead in numbers.
yeah, but
And that's
every now and then you show up, you know.
yes, every now and then. But you see, Gerard, okay, if you talk about showing up, when you say showing up, remember when the gentleman up on the hill when they tried to force him to make a new road rather than using a road that was there for him to build on his land?
You're right.
Okay, people showed up. Then you had the incident down in Frederickstead with the rocks blocking people from the beach and parking along the side road and everything. People showed up.
Right.
So I know that we're capable of showing up. But as long as we continue to believe that somehow or the other there is a senator or somebody else who gonna be or a Foy or somebody who by their showing up gonna be a proxy for 5,000 people or 9,000 people, as long as we continue to act like that, uh, you know, we don't live by proxy here, folks. Okay, somebody else can't eat and your belly feel it. You don't live by proxy, and we
What?
and definitely I didn't see that we had any avatars there to say that they show up by avatar. Okay, so I'm saying that because here we are once again into an election cycle. I see somebody posted a list here, election system of the Virgin Islands, a listing of unofficial aspirants for primary and general election. Okay, all of them, all of them that listed there have an email address because they know in this day and age a primary currency of communication is email. Now, whether they read the email, you know, or take it seriously or just going through the motions of having one. That doesn't stop 5,000 people from sending them an email saying, we want Vitran Plus to serve the Virgin Islands equitably. No discrimination between being in St. Thomas and St. Croix. A simple little sentence. And they share the sentence with each other. The mere fact that 5,000 people send somebody that email, you want to hear them all of a sudden talking about Vitran Plus, and all of a sudden interested in what they're going to do for the folks and everything else. That is how you drive the agenda. Right now, the aspirants are driving the agenda.
Yeah, by not showing up.
Well, but it's a game. It's a process that has been proven to work. Okay, that's you gotta understand. It ain't gonna change unless people show it don't work no more. From the time people start saying, you know what, you need a fish fry, I'm gonna vote for you anyhow. Fish fry done. Okay? You don't have to come in my neighborhood and put nothing in my fence to talk to me personally. You don't even have to ask me for a vote. I can vote for you anyhow.
Well,
Think
you
about
know,
it. That's not the candidate. That's the people.
thanks to Miss Roslyn McFarlane,
Mm-hmm.
I have become a fierce advocate for persons with disabilities. And I can tell you, like I told them yesterday in our little event, I said, in my former life, I was an exterminator. I had to get rid of roach. They were like,
Oh,
what? I said,
okay.
okay, I left it there. Because,
Yeah. But see, brother, okay, for you to say that, right?
mhm,
It might it might strike a chord with somebody right now for a smile on the face, especially since we have somebody running for one office that have that name that also is the descriptor for a certain insect. Okay, right. Okay, but but see, the problem with that is that like it's like an instant gratification and move on.
no, I'm
Okay,
moving on.
so no, what follow me, follow me.
Mhm.
How many persons with disability you project that we have here in St. Croix, and whatever the disability, from visual to uh, need a cane, can't walk very far. I don't care what you want to call it. What you
Not
project?
sure, not sure exactly how much in St. Croix,
Not exactly, just a general idea.
but territory wide, about 13,000,
Territory wide, about 13,000.
13, 14,000.
Okay, out of uh, population of 80, let's say 85. Let's say it's down to 85. Okay,
And territory
so
wide,
what?
uh, 3,400 of them is blind.
Well, my question to you then is, how do we identify them and communicate with them to share what we're talking about this morning, let's say? Okay, and them includes their caregivers and family. So you think about that, 13,000. If half of them, 6,500, have a caregiver, okay, that bring you close to 20,000. And if that same half, okay, as a minimum, have one family member involved, okay, so we up to 26,000. So which is easily, if we split it 50-50 between the two islands, is 13 and 13, right?
Hmm.
So the challenge is identifying those people, letting them know what the issue is you want them to focus on, okay, or asking them what they think the issues are from their perspective that they would like to see focused on in terms of persons with disabilities. I mean, they may have other concerns also.
Good.
That is how your campaign, brother. Okay, so we hear on the radio, and yes, it may have an impact, but you only have the people who listening while you're on the area. You know, that's all you have. The people that you have when you have them. So between mail, word of mouth, email, whatever the case may be, all right. Um, get your little group of people who want to do that committee to do that. You know, we used to have um, League of Women Voters doing what they do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
right now, I don't only see them when they have a gubernatorial election. It's like that's what I've seen. They're not actively interested in the the down ballot voting, from what I've seen. Okay, and League of Women Voters, me ain't throwing no stone. I ain't throwing nothing I hide in my hand. I just kind of like it is. But League of Women Voters, you aren't the only one out there. There are others out there. You have these committees that show up out of the blue, want to call themselves calling for, having forum and everything else. Now, there's a thing that the newspapers can do. Unfortunately, when they tie money to it, it becomes problematic. But the thing that the newspapers can do is that they can take issues and send them out to all the candidates and said, hey, I will give you 500 words or less, 300 words or less to tell me where you stand and how you feel on this issue. Because once that newspaper is printed, it's on the record. And you have something that you could gauge 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, 15 months from now, 18 months from now, 21 months from now, before we get to 24 months from now, as to whether that person lived up to what they said and what the circumstances around that are. Because, it takes eight to pass legislation. If eight don't cooperate, come together, then you can't blame it on one out of the eight. You have to look at all eight. Okay, that were against it. Okay, um, but I'm gonna tell you, brother. If there was a functional and serious committee of folks that want to do these kind of things, I would jump in because I done it with everybody else. St. Croix is my home. The Virgin Islands is my home. Uh, you know, it's always good to go someplace, but it's even better to come home.
Good.
So, as you see me here now, I would love to wake up in the morning and go down to Lil Bay and take a dip, you know, go down in the market and get me some taman ball or a frico. Go down the road there by the airport and get me some nice pate. Okay, go by Miss Tongue and pick up the the tart them that I have her make for me, so I could have some and I could send some away to the people I know away to say, see what you're missing, come home and visit at least, So that's me. That's me. But the key is you have to have a functioning committee of people who are committed in the most basic sense. I mean, talking about 40 hours a week or anything like that. But to sit down and identify an issue and then figure out a way how to reach the powers that be on the issue. One thing the governor, the governor, I've seen him do, and I think effectively, right, is to say, um, bring me a proposal. He's been approached by various people on various topics. He said, "Bring me a proposal." And some people are turned off by that, but I know people who have taken that challenge, delivered a proposal where the proposal was found worthy, and move forward. Now, I am just saying that we have this platform here on the radio, but if we think that this platform is going to move mountains, the platform doesn't move mountains. People move mountains. Okay, you look at that the Hoover Dam. People move mountains. People build dams. People break them down. People get their independence by being united in a cause. So
Right.
we have to say these things because I want to be more instructive than critical. Because anybody can be critical. This early in the morning, anybody can be critical. Anyhow, so let me get out that soapbox for a quick minute and say, hey, folks, 9 o'clock this morning or shortly thereafter, we're expecting Myron A. Alec in the studio, and he's going to be here as an author as well as a person that you know on the road and in other business ventures and everything else. And he's going to be talking about this book. All right? This book. Many of you have heard about Bomba. Yes, Wilfred Elisha Alec. He is a Virgin Islands hero. But don't take my word for it. Read the book. And there are all kinds of interesting things in the book: adventure, romance, uh, tragedy, resilience, hey, genealogy, a lot of stuff in this book. And I have a growing collection of authors from the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas and St. Croix and St. John. And it's gotten to the point now where I'm kind of like um, having to dispose of other books. No, I ain't burning them. I ain't throwing them in the dump. You know, I have to dispose of or otherwise give away or other books because I have committed to a collection of Virgin Islands related historical, traditional, cultural, whatever books. Okay, you know, I have. You say that I try to get my books signed by the author where possible. I have a few to catch up with. I was so fortunate to be gifted a couple of books by Dr. Richard Schroeder in the course of working with him on various projects and talking with him about various projects. One of which had in the preface some interesting information about my grandmother, Inez Roebuck Canton. And so I highly encourage you to support your local authors, not in lieu of any other authors, just support your local authors, just like you support your local artisans, and read the books. Okay? And if you don't read them, make sure that you have something in motion so that those who are your legacy will read them. Okay? Even if you gotta bribe them, because sometimes you know how it is, Jared. They'll stay in that gadget. They'll stay in the gadget. But authors, I want to hear more from you in terms of your use of electronic distribution of your books, because the world has changed. You know, if ands or buts about that. Electronic distribution of your books, and uh, Jared, you know what your thing is in that context, talking books and electronic books, right? Yeah. Anyhow, don't let it be distracting you. You know, you ain't want to get fired in the middle of the job here. Okay.
I send you home. I gotta push a button and you disappear. You know.
Oh Lordy be man, don't be so cruel, man. Don't be so cruel. I'm gonna tell you,
We have
sister, yo.
tell now, she listening. We have a caller.
Okay. All right. Good thing.
Let's
Good
see who
morning, big sis. Okay.
let, let's see who this is. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug and Jerry, the League of Manvoters.
Oh Jesus.
How you all doing?
We good?
Good. Listen, with regards the amount of people with disability across our very small territory, I would say it's a very high number, particularly in the area of non-sightedness, won't you, Jerry?
Yeah.
Yes, and I agree, and especially because it can be prevented.
True.
I mean, unless you know, so then why aren't people taking a closer look at the only set of balls they have in front of their head to see where they're going?
Oh, you see what happened,
Yeah.
Mr. Nibs? One of the problems is, you know, you go to a doctor and the doctor will try to treat you with diabetes and they're trying their best to treat your diabetes, but then they're just a general practitioner.
All right.
You understand? Well, once you acquire diabetes, you need to go see an endocrinologist,
True.
okay, to help manage your diabetes. You could still see a general doctor, you know, for other things,
All right.
but you need to go see that specialist to assist you in
I'm
managing
glad you're down there.
your diabetes,
Yes.
okay?
I'm glad you're down
But
there.
and I'm saying this because in my experience, I never knew anything about no endocrinologist. I found out that
Neither me.
I found out about the endocrinologist when things got too far.
Right.
Okay, and now now my diabetes is more managed. But
Right.
prior to that, the general practitioner that I was seeing was like, okay, we can do this, we can do that, and more um doing a regimen plan, trying to control the diabetes
All right.
that wasn't working, rather than figuring out why it wasn't working.
Right. Good.
Okay.
And you get an A plus for that. But let me say this. And you're so right. Seeing an endocrinologist, not only that, but there are ophthalmologists, optometrists, all kind of trips. But let me tell you something. I see one here in West Palm Beach. It's a company that's called Middleman, like the middle of the road, Middleman
Mm-hmm.
Eye.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. If they have 50 rooms in the area, a
Mm-hmm.
thousand, now I have a 50 to a thousand and have computers in it that looks into your eye.
Yes.
Yes, and let me tell you, there's one doctor, young white boy named Luzan, Dr. Luzan, who's my ophthalmologist.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever he comes to me, he has, and it's an ongoing training. They have their people, so one of his understudies is right next to him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in the computer putting in what the doctor says, optimal this, 0.2 this, XY this, lateral this. And let me tell you, even though I have cataracts and what the other eye diseases again?
Glaucoma?
Glaucoma.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, this is why he's a fair doctor, because I've seen, and I even tell my children this, and they get mad at me. You are too quick to cut. I want to do this and do this. He has been treating me, and I'm sure you would know the names of these. I just post up and Bremadine.
Yeah, Bremadine. Yeah, Latanoprost.
For years.
Uh-huh.
And he says it is working so well, there's no need for him to rush to do anything.
Right.
Now, he made me aware that the time will come when that is going to advance to another stage that they will have to go in your Iban.
Well, no. Well,
now,
for the, to remove the cataract.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they ain't going in your eyeball.
Well, I mean concession.
I have changed both. I took out both my cataracts, so they just cut into the outer layer and pull out your actual lens and put in an artificial lens. You know.
Right.
But
you see, the thing is this: I also have had light sensitive eyes.
Yes.
My eyes are very sensitive to light. Even when I will be driving, I have to have a pair of dark shades, darker than Richardson.
Yeah, well, I wear a pair of dark shades because although I can't see, I still I'm sensitive to light.
Yes, of course. But the point I'm trying to get at, and I'm going after this, because of the use, and he said, I'll continue to use the eye drops twice a day as prescribed. He said it is working so well for your eyes that I don't think I have to do nothing further for a long time.
Right.
Keep it up. But it has also corrected my peripheral vision. I think I could be watching straight at Jerry, but then Doc I'm there to buy an ice cream and I could see them behind the door.
Right. Well, you see, I'm glad you said about the optometrist and the ophthalmologist. I used to see an optometrist, and they would just change my glasses and give me stronger glasses, and they put bifocals and all this kind of thing. They never tell me anything else going on in my eye. It's when I went to see the ophthalmologist now, and they dilate my eyes and look directly in the back of my eyes and saw the damage. That was when, and this is the thing about these various doctors. They don't tell you about the other doctor you may need to see. They look like they want all the money for themselves.
Right.
But then again, when you get to the ophthalmologist now, especially here in the VI, they have a bad habit. When you have the bleeding in the eye, like which I had, they do a little bit the laser, but they don't fully laser. They don't fully laser your eye. They start to use a thing called Avastin in your eye. They inject this Avastin in your eye, and it shrinks the blood vessels that's created, by your retina, and to stop the bleeding. Because when you have diabetic retinopathy, that's what happens. Your retina creates new blood vessels that goes nowhere, and then it grows and grows and grows, and then it pops, and then that's what creates the bleeding in the back of your eye.
All right.
So,
and that is so good. It's so good information for the public, particularly that you just need to check yourself for any and all diseases early.
Right, but I was getting at something with this injection.
Yeah, go ahead.
This Avastin injection is something they use for persons who've taken chemotherapy.
Okay.
And these ophthalmologists started using it to shrink the blood vessels, in the eye, and it seems to work for some people. You understand?
Right.
But then it creates a problem within the eye. It can create
Right.
retinal detachments, which I've had. Both both my retina detached,
You kidding?
and it
Wow.
has created the onset of glaucoma as well, which I
Oh.
also have. So now
Uh-huh.
I am doomed to be putting these eye drops in my eye for the rest of my life, you know.
Yeah.
But this is what has happened
I
because
see.
of this Avastin injection. And when you ask these doctors about the side effects of the Avastin,
I see.
they start to mumble and jumble and try to bounce around your question.
Uh-huh.
They don't fully answer, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I say that to say this, that Avastin is one of the main things behind a lot of the people that go blind here in the territory.
I see.
Okay.
Okay. Let me go by saying this
Hmm.
because I have some folks there listening with me and they want to know who this doctor is that I'm speaking to. I tell them this, he ain't a doctor. He's a non-sighted person himself, but they can't believe it. you know.
Well, I'm not
But
a
that's very
doctor,
good
but I
information.
experienced everything I'm telling you there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have experienced.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so I'm telling you from my own experience. Ain't not nobody tell me.
well,
I tell you from my own
well.
experience, and I'm telling you from the the retinal specialist I've seen in New York. All that stuff that I've been through and what he told me, all that stuff. I'm relaying it to you now.
Good. And the word or the term experience is better than wisdom is so very much in place right here and now. But let me close by saying this. One thing he did tell me is
Hmm.
that, and he tried to get me to remember, he said, you got hit in your left eye. He said, I have seen something there that is a thing that has happened donkey years ago. And I
Hmm.
tell him, well, I've been in many of his fights, so I don't know why was he driving a car home. Either that or I get it playing ball. I believe it was playing ball. Because one time playing ball, the sun was so bright, I didn't see the ball. He like put up man where I think the ball was, it slammed me right in my eye.
Right.
So I believe that's the damage that he has seen there. Anyway, I will give someone else a chance to
Well,
come on.
well,
Thanks again.
well, as children, we have experienced a lot of injuries growing up.
Right. But fist fights are my thing, you see, so I got beat up a lot. Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Okay, folks, it's 17 minutes before the hour of 9. I want to remind people that come 9 o'clock or shortly thereafter, we're expecting Myron Alec to talk about the book that he wrote called Bomba. It's about Wilfred Elisha Alec. Yes, it's a story about a Virgin Islands hero. And I am so glad that he took the time out to put all the information together to deliver this book. And hopefully, out of it will grow other collections of discussion or whatever that will be memorialized either in writing or digitally to um, share into the future. Um, I was listening to the discussion there um, with regards to the issues of sight and treatment for the illnesses that can ultimately lead to blindness in the context of diabetes and so forth and so on. And that's always an interesting thing to listen to from my perspective, especially with your firsthand experiences, Jerry. Okay. The but I come full circle back to what we're talking about from another perspective is how do we galvanize toward responsive action by the leadership of our community for persons with a disability. That's the challenge, and so that's something that we have to give more thought to. Which, by the way, folks, for those of you listening, if you haven't figured it out, I'm not on St. Croix. I'm on WSTX, but I'm not on St. Croix. Yes, I'd love to be home and be able to go and take a dip and everything else down at Gallows Bay or any other nice beach, all the nice beaches that we have. But I am looking forward to getting past that drought in
Well,
that context. Yeah.
you didn't hear what I told them you wasn't here?
Uh,
That, when I opened the show, I told them I renamed the show to The Blind Perspective.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Uh,
I said,
just
I said, but dog ain't here, so he ain't know.
yep. Right. Here through this digital tool that we have called the internet and
Ah,
streaming. Yes. Okay. I have also been reflecting on a couple of things, and there's some events that have happened on St. Croix that I think are very significant from a health um, perspective this year. But in particular, the Yvonne Ashley Galbert Foundation, they started for their first year the annual Breast and Prostate Cancer Conference, which is a fantastic thing. I know that the Department of Health, in conjunction with one of the fraternities, also had a cancer conference, if you want to call it a conference. Um, Not comparing anything, as much so as saying that when you got people willing to collaborate from one angle, two angles, three angles, you're better off. You're better off because you're keeping the issues in the face of the people, and it's some health is one of these things where being proactive is how you preserve your wealth and health. Yep. Okay. The other thing, since we mentioned the book Bomba coming out, there's a organization that's under the UVI umbrella called the Caribbean Writer. And the Caribbean Writer also has a component called the Caribbean Writer Press. And the Caribbean Writer Press is very often involved with the publishing of books. And this is one where when you see the advertisement for this upcoming launch of this book, which is for this Sunday at the UVI Great Hall from 1 to 3, UVI is always mentioned in the mix. When you hear about the Literary Festival and Book Fair, UVI is always in the mix. It's a collaboration and leadership and support and the bringing together of minds from the private sector, the education sector, the business sector for the success of the people of the Virgin Islands and promotion of literacy from various angles, whether it be the media, the medium can change books, video, uh, other digital means of promoting literacy, right? So I just wanted to mention those things, but all on the focus of things happen because people get together and make things happen. Yeah, there's some things that happen that people don't get together to do. The sun, as we say, does come up and go down, and the Sometimes the moon come up and all of these things. Yeah, those are outside of our control in that context. And sometimes we have a weird way of looking at things. Because when you go up in space, there is no up or down. It's just you're in space. There's no up or down. So we have this construct that we have a looking up to the sky and down to the earth and so forth and so on. But whatever your construct is, make sure, like Jared, that you do a random act of kindness every day. And if you're feeling kind of bored, do some premeditated acts of kindness. You won't find yourself being investigated by the FBI, CIA, or anything else. But it will qualitatively help you to help others. And for sure, if you make it a point to do, a random act of kindness for someone you just can't stand, you are that much closer to making sure that they are not living rent free in your head. Okay? And I'm going to close that conversation out for now by saying there's a term called a word forgiveness, and it begins with the letter F, and then there's forgetfulness or forgetting or to forget. And the process of forgiveness, whether you can give it or not, the challenge is to make sure that the thing that caused a reason to even think about forgiveness or to have it be a subject, that you don't carry around baggage so that the people who have done something that makes you feel that way become your baggage that you carry around. Okay? Uh, I know how to forgive, but forgetting is a crime against yourself in the context that those who don't learn their history, whether the history that's created around them or pay attention to their own personal history, you're very much open to the repetition of the thing that you would otherwise want to avoid. All right? Good thing. Good thing. All right. So Jerry, I commend you on your steadfast steadfast application of the random acts of kindness in our community. I know you do it every day. You run into someone and you say, hey, you know, you can learn more about how to communicate. You can learn more about how to be in touch with your loved ones. You don't have to let a disability make you any different than any other person. You are somebody, and hey, I can teach you some skills and show you some things that going to take you to another level. All right, Jared. So keep up the good work. Okay, I say we got a new sheriff in town, brother.
Yeah.
This one ain't this one ain't as pretty as the other one, though.
The head marshal.
All right.
All right. We're rocking. We're still on Facebook, but we are not live on the radio. And I'll bring everybody in. Come on, Mr. Alec. We're good.
All right. Let's have the intermission conversation here.
He's online. So
the sweet part, Jared.
You can come in. I don't bite.
That's what you don't say, Myron. That's what you don't say.
Oh, I can stay home and do this too, man.
Hey, with the stream, yeah.
No, we wanted you here. We want to lay you off that easy.
Exactly. Can't be let off that easy. All right, let's do it.
Which one is Alec you are?
I am Bomba's last son.
Okay. I hear the one that blow the country.
That's my oldest brother, Jimmy.
Oldest brother, Jimmy Bomba.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, guys, we are good.
Okay, if you could turn the camera down just a little bit more.
Okay.
Downward, yeah, right. So, okay, that's good. So I get a little bit of the table. So I got him from table up. Yeah, okay,
Good shot. All right.
That's a good shot. You could twist it a little bit. Jared could be in it. in just a little.
What do you want me to do? You ain't
Because you, brother, you are in the
It's
mix.
wet.
You can't get out of it. Like the pancake, once that batter don't make, you there in it.
All right, guys, we're gonna go live back on the radio in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, we are back. I had to take a quick break there. We have our guest in the studio, Mr. Myron Alec. You know, he came to tell us about his book that he wrote. You know, but once you started to tell us about, after you tell us about this book, I have some questions for you.
I'll be fine.
All right. Well, good morning, Myron.
Good morning, man.
Welcome to WSTX AM 970 Reflections, a place where we like to look in the mirror and what we see that we like, we have good things to say. What we see that we don't like, we try to jump in and make a difference. And this morning, the reflection is just wonderful because I seen this book cover every time I look in the mirror, and I say, "Yeah, good thing, good thing. Let's talk about it and give the audience some insight as to your inspiration in doing this book and so much more because it just flows from you sitting and talking with you. It just flows. So I gonna let you run with it. It's your show.
So the floor is yours. No study though.
Okay. Good morning, listening audience. My name is Myron Alec. I am the last son of the union between Imelda Robert Saki Alec and Wilfred Elijah, better known as Bomba Alec. Reason for me to write this book about my father, he was a guy that never told us of what he have done, and he's the kind of guy that held everything to himself. And from my writing the book, I now realize what a brilliant mind he was, and the things that he have done for the Virgin Islands community when you didn't have the opportunity to fly in planes and all that kind of stuff. So you date him back in the 1900s, early 1900s, and his life experience. So after he, in fact, it's kind of ironic of the way he died. Because here's a man that actually tried to sail from here to Denmark, and he was always a seafaring guy, traveling back and forth with the boats to Puerto Rico, Long Island, you name it. He used to be all over the islands, bringing in stuff. I mean, since he was bringing in, groceries and everything else in the time when we have no planes and stuff like that. So he was a major player in what people in the islands ate, especially here in the Virgin Islands. He used to bring back all the produce and everything else from different islands here. Anyhow, it's a time in our history that would have been probably forgotten about, based on the fact that somebody else could tell his story. So I decided to look into him and some of the things that he done. Because again, quiet guy, never said anything about what he did, but really, I was fortunate to have a father like him, good role model to me and my brothers and sisters. And he he was a quiet guy. He never said much, but we always looked up to him because again, his action proved what type of person he was. I want to stop right there so I could have some more input from you, Doug, and maybe some of the limited and some of your listening audience.
Yeah, well, the there's so much in looking through the book, but as I tell people, it is chock full of so many different, from genealogy to adventure to uh, to mishap to resilience to community, and sometimes things that we see documentaries about happening in other places like rum running, for instance. People think about down south in the United States and what was going on there, but the fact of the matter is, there are ways in which we here in the Virginians were involved in those things, right? So what I'd like you to do, I think was very touching to me because fathers fathers have a very important part to play in their children's life. And you talk a little bit about your experience on a boat going to Buck Island and so forth. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that and just share that experience.
Well, with our family, we had a very close knit family. You're talking going back to the days when, everybody respected each other. I grew up in the times where your neighbor would discipline you. I remember I had a lady live next to us called Miss Franklin, and when we were going to school, she would be in the window porched up, and we had to say good morning to the window. If I was, Miss Franklin, morning, Miss Franklin. And if we didn't do that, when we got home, my mother would have information that this boy and use a term pissing against what or what he. So and the tongue raised the children because again, I had the privilege of going to St. Patrick's School at the time. All of us, all my brothers and sisters went to St. Patrick's School, and the nuns were very strict in those Belgian nuns were strict on us. And then they would report on you and tell you how the society was woven in with these nuns. Because on the weekends they would come to try and inspect to see how you live. They're walking around in groups and they come up to the house. Oh, Miss Attic, how you doing? And they're there and they talk to you and they tell you, give a report on how your children was doing and that kind of stuff. So we had a really close knit community, where the elders would discipline you. And I might go back to some of my heritage. I'm a seventh generation heritage from a enslaved woman called Diana, who was brought here, purchased by the first Anglican minister of the Anglican Church in Christiansted. His name was Cecil Ray Goodchild. We go back. One time when I said that to a lady that was in church one day when I went to the Anglican church, and I saw the lady say, "Oh no," and the other lady said, "Oh yes, the priests them owned slaves, and that's how it was." And and she was brought here as a 30-year-old slave, and she was purchased, as I said, by Cecil Ray Goodchild. He moved her on Claremont, and then she transferred over to Castle Nugent. And that's where my lineage started on my father's side. It's in regards to his life on the sea, he became a cabin boy, and this boat called the Vigilant was owned by the Pentonese. And if you wouldn't believe the stuff that they used to do, my grandfather was a shipwright, and they had a connection with the Kennedys. So at some point they would sail from here to Halifax, Canada. And that was during a bootlegger time. So they would take up rum, and then when they came back, again, it was kind of this type of information would be lost in history forever. And when they came back, they brought back ice, packed in sawdust, because you have to regulate the balance of the boat coming back when you went up with the weight to come back with the weight, sailing from here all the way to Halifax, Canada. And my father, from a very young age, again, it has not much to do because I only could go until 6th grade. And I'm very grateful to have people who gave me stories about my father, like Mr. Roebuck of East End and Iggy Peterson. He gave me some information of when they tried to sail to Denmark with Captain Muller back in the 1930s. And they got shipwrecked in the Azores, and Mr. Roebuck gave me the information regarding his rum running days, because during that period of time, it had America, there was a prohibition on using and having rum and alcohol products in the Virgin Islands. And my father used to As I said, he was one of the first legs that they brought in the rum. They go to Puerto Rico and bring the rum in. Thing would say about that period, there was no, the reason for the prohibition period with rum, was because the rum used to use grain, and they had the war going on, and to conserve the grain supplies. Most of the rum made in the states use grain. That's why they had a prohibition on rum, because the grain supply was needed to feed people. But the Virgin Islands rum was made out of sugarcane, so you had no reason to restrict that. So because of his affiliation again, the Pentonese, he used to bring in a rum at night, and like Mr. Rober gave me a story with him when he gave him the all clear sign to come in with the rum. Didn't know that the one of the police at the time, you could say, was waiting to try to catch him. The custom agents. And when he gave him the sign, he saw the guy waiting behind the dock, waiting for my father to dock, and he gave him the sign that the police was present. He said, well, as soon as my father docked the boat, the guy wasted no time jumping on the boat and started inspecting. He found no rum. And so after he left, he said, Mr. Rourke said, yeah, what do you do with it? What happened to the rum? And he said, after you gave me that sign, boss, I just bore a hole in them and I dumped them over the side of the boat. And Mr. Rourke coming to me, your father was one of the strongest men I ever saw in the world. So I was telling you a little bit about his life and his experience growing up. And Ignatius Peterson, for instance, and I'm thankful I got to talk to these people because they have now passed on. And he told me about the time that my father was going to sail from here to Denmark with this guy named Captain Muller. And they left during hurricane season. Captain Muller was a stubborn man, and he was a Danish citizen, and he wanted to take Ignatius and my father to Denmark to show that I had good sailors in the Virgin Islands. And he said they left during hurricane season. He said they passed a few minor storms where they were going past St. Thomas. But he said in the middle of the ocean on the way to the Azores, they ran into this storm and it threatened to take them under. And he said, if it wasn't for your father, we all would have been dead. He said, my father took charge because Captain Muller, being a smaller man, older guy, he had to go below because the wind was so strong, you'd have blown him off the deck. And he said when the boat started breaking up and they started taking our water, he said he started to cry and he said, Pumba, you bring me out of the way, I hate to die. And he said, my father grabbed him and said, don't get frightened, McGowan. And get frightened, you do things you wouldn't do otherwise. And I'm this type of person, I'm just trying to tell you how he was, how he didn't give up, And he said in the height of the storm, he tied a rope from the mainmast to the bow of the boat. And during the height of the storm, with one hand, he actually had to hold on to the rope off the deck and stuff rags into the boat where it was leaking. And that's what saved the life, And then a little story about him after Captain Muller was on the boat sailing and everything. One night he decided he wanted to make some coffee, and he had two stoves. He had an oil stove and he had a gas stove. And Captain Muller chose to turn around the gas stove to make his coffee, to make the coffee. And my father said, use the oil stove since we be low because the gas stove might cause a problem. It might catch a fire. Captain Muller scoffed at him and Bumba, you think you know everything, And he lit up and he caught on fire. And my father, he said to me, without hesitation, he wrapped him in a blanket and jumped overboard to extinguish the fire above him, and then got him back on board. And he suffered burns and everything else from other that. But that's the kind of man he was. He was like a fearless guy. He was strong and he was all about his people, And he talked about when he came back from Denmark. He gave me an experience of him while it was over in Denmark. Right? Captain Muller left them on an island and continued to Denmark to get treatment for the burns that he had. And he stayed on the island for almost a month. And the people on the island, and one of the things about one of the sports that was prevalent in the time was soccer. And my father loved to play soccer, but he played barefooted, So the people on the island where they left them, Captain Muller left them, They invited them to play, and they were so happy. Their favorite sport was soccer. So he told me about how my father would play them. He was a very strong guy, very fast and everything else, and he would play them, people them, and how the women would chase after him after the game, and they would run to the room and knock up and that kind of stuff. And then you have him coming back from after being rescued. Um, you know, Captain Muller made arrangements without they knowing, and the um, Danish, what call it, the Danish government sent some people to pick them up, take them on a tour of all the African um, um, how you call them, consulates, and then put them on a boat to come back to the Virgin Islands. And they talk about when they came back, how the people then were so happy when they found out that they were on the boat that came from that brought them back home. Because everybody thought at the time, nope, no, the communication that we have now, nope, and they were out at least a month or two, and nobody never heard anything about them. When they heard they were on the boat, the people flocked to the boat. Everybody started, but he had a very close relationship with his father, who was on a shipwright on the boat called the Vision, and he used to build most of the shipping boats, his fishing boats in Gallows Bay. His name was Elijah Alec. So they talk about a close relationship he had with his father. When he came in, his father and him went to talk about what happened on the trip and stuff, not to upset the mother who was there and overjoyed to see her son again. And then he kept on with the sea. He came and he was sailing his boat called the Flight, and that boat brought in all of the oil and gas, and that's a boat that we have on the back of the book that shows him sailing the Flight. And he actually brought back all oil and gas from Puerto Rico back and forth and everything else. And it was during World War II time. And Ignatius had told me as well that the German submarine had stopped him a couple of times and boarded the boat to see what he was doing and let him go. And one time they stopped him, just asked him for a barrel of water. He gave them, and they continued. But then he would give information to the units, to the states, to the sailors that were here. And maybe it was several boats sank in the Caribbean. And I would say it's due to that because I don't have all that information, but several submarines were sank in the Caribbean. Anything else you want to ask me? Because I could go on.
Yeah. No, I I'm just entranced by all the things you're talking about. But I will say this to the audience, right? You listen to Myron. Myron might be a little bit on the nervous side or anything, but one reason why you have to get this book is because he gave you a nice overview, but it got a lot of details in there that you really want to get this book and read it for yourself in that context. No, I enjoyed all the things that you've been talking about so far, and you're into a spoiler. It got plenty of detail in there that wants to get in there to see. Now, one of the things that without going into the details is that sometimes things can be going so smooth and so good, the things that can happen that is the last thing that we foresee. And you described to me part of your motivation for writing a book involved your last communication with your dad. And I say that because we have so many sons and daughters that are fortunate to have daddy there and interact with daddy, and the song Dance with My Father, and you hear that you just never know. You have to live every day to its fullest, because tomorrow could actually start today. There's no guarantee that you can get to the next tomorrow in that context. And so without um, saying anything more than that, I just want to thank you. And I say it's a blessing for us that you recognize all that he had done, not only as a father, but as a person in our community when the village truly raised the child. and to bring these memories and to be motivated and inspired to track down all of these people that you could reach while we had them, to now memorialize it in this book. I want to really thank you and commend you for doing that, because you kept the course. Whichever which way the winds were blowing, like your father, you kept the course, and here we are at this destination. All right. Now,
Yeah.
how just a little curious, without any a whole bunch of detail, how your father met your mother. And before you answer, I gonna just say that my father had lived out East End. And Christian said for a little bit, but that's the East End family. And my mother is West End. And this is back in the days, they had no cell phone or whatever, just like how you pass the window, you say good morning, regardless of whether you see the face or not, because you know if you ain't do it, it gonna be just as though it had cell phone when you get home, you know. So if you could just touch on that in a light way.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Um, it's they met. You know, my father met my mother when he used to. They used to have a school for culinary science, culinary, um, a culinary school over on the Key, and my father was the one that took the girls for that program over to the Key, and that's how we met my mother. She was a country girl, and her family Saki, of course, is I'm also a sixth generation on the Saki side. Her family Saki side had a lot of roots, and in those days, you know, she was one of the eldest. My grandma, my grandmother and grandfather, Leo and Helen Saki, they had 12 children. You had to have a lot of children in order to, if you had land. Because it was during the homestead period when they got some land, like 10 acres was allotted to a different family in Mount St. Croix. So they met when he ferried the children that came up for the classes over in the Key, and that's how they met. And he was ferrying the boat, and I guess they caught each other eye, and before you know it,
The rest is history.
they were there's his wife. He had actually seven children, but she had two miscarriages. The rest is history in that how they met, and they were married for over 50 years. You
Yeah.
know, and I had never seen my mother the day that that he met his fate. I never seen my mother react like that. She was a strong, strong woman. She kept with the family, and even more of a sailor out there, and doing what the guys used to do from thing. But he always was there as a father. Every night he'd be home unless he had to go somewhere on the boat like to St. Thomas or some other place. But yeah, they grew up with two parents. And the next thing I want to do, and before we continue, is I'd like to give some compliments to like that assist some people that assist me with the book. I'm not really nervous. I just have a little short problem here, but get over that.
All right.
I like to compliment, and of course they helped me a lot with getting the book to where it was. I had a rough draft, and you get people to mark it up, get it to where it's supposed to be, and they did like superb job. I'm fortunate to have such type of people that actually took interest in the rough draft that I brought to them. I'd like to give some praise to Dr. Gilbert Sproul from St. John, Ronald Hewitt, the VI historian Malik Siku, he's a doctor at CVI, UVI, sorry, Roberta Nove in particular. She, I have to say a little bit more about her because when I first started the book and somebody pointed me to her and I gave her a scratch, she said, "Oh, this is very interesting." And she proceeded to mark it up. I said, "Man, I didn't know I write so bad, but yeah, it's all that good. It was very genuine, She said, and when she gave me back the pitch, I said, okay, I got work to do, But that was very, I really thank her, and of course she's deceased right now, but I'm very grateful that for what she did. My cousin Roy Pemberton Jr. and Roy and Nobel Francis and his father Roy Pemberton Sr. These people really looked at the book, looked and gave me some insight what I was to where it should have been, and I have as a result, I have a good product.
So tell me,
And also, before I go on, and I would be remiss if I didn't say this about my second mother, my sister Idona Saki Alec Byron. She was instrumental in me meeting Ignatius Peterson and Mr. Roebuck, you know, who gave me a true account of what happened was my father, because I grew up with my father. That gave me a true account of actually our conditions were here when they were on the Danish rule, because my father was born on the Danish rule. He was born 1910, January 12th. And he gave me good insight to that about what my father and what my grandfather and my father were doing in Gallows Bay. Because sometimes you go through some of the book, and this girl, lady Renenda, she got a nice book. And I was going through the book one day, I'm looking at the book, and she described a situation on the bay side. We are looking at this boat, you know, and looking at the boat, she said, "Oh, it's fishermen on the dock. I mean, on the boat on the sea. Like those had the boat." And when I looking at this picture, and I'm saying to myself, "Oh, wait a minute, something ain't just a fisherman boat." When I look down, you know, and the time period coincide where my grandfather and my father used to be. Gotta say, we couldn't see my grandfather without my father. He took him everywhere. So looking at the dock, my father had this wrong head. I see a little wrong head in the water, and I see this guy on the boat, and he's doing something to fix the boat. And I said, "Wait a minute, that's my father and my grandfather," you know. But this is how history gets lost, because people take pictures of something or have information to see something, and then they would put their words to it.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's how our history gets lost, because a lot of times that's not what is actually happening, but that's what they wrote, and then nobody else is there to dispute it.
right.
Exactly. It's so important that we tell our story every step of the way. And you know, Byron, one of the things I have run into sometimes with from the videography side or the photography side is some of my elders say, I don't want to be in no picture. Don't take my picture. This, that, and the other, that I don't want to be in no video. And I have to say to them, you know, but how your story gonna get told? You're gonna tell it to us here, and who hear it here, hear it, then we interpret it, and next thing you know, it get twisted wrong or whatever, so forth and so on. When we look at some of these videos of Virgin Islanders and we hear them talking and saying the things, there's there's nothing that is more authentic than that. But the next step now is that when you're fortunate enough to be there and hear the words, or in this case, you see and recognize this picture and who these people are, to go beyond the wow, oh my goodness, and to whether it's the book, the video, or some other digital representation, to tell the story, because somebody else will, and it might not be the real story.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
So
Well,
Myron,
mhm.
tell the public where they can after the book launch, where they can get the book.
Well,
Oh,
first of all, but let's talk about the book launch. Let's talk about the book launch first of all, if you don't mind, Jared. I I,
Sure,
I,
boy.
I want to stick that in real quick. This coming Sunday at the UVI Great Hall from 1 to 3
Mm-hmm.
is the formal book launch will be taking place. Now they're gonna have, refreshments. You're gonna have the opportunity, of course, to get a copy of the book and have the author to sign it and chit chat with all the other members in the community that will be there. But the important thing is to be there, because this is our history in a way that we know it and we are telling it. And I encourage everybody, if you get a chance, add this book to your special collection of Virgin Islands authors' writings. Okay, that's my shameless plug for this book. Okay, no shame, because I love it. I love it. Okay, so Jared, you were saying now.
Yeah, your shame box not working. But anyway, um, tell the public when after the book launch, how can they get a copy of this book? Where would it be available?
Well, I'm good downstairs. On the cover downstairs.
On the cover books?
Yeah, yeah. They've been asking me, and I have a lot of people from St. Thomas as well have been asking me. I gotta go talk with them after. I don't care if the name slipped me right now, but I'm gonna be able to sell in St. Thomas as well. I'm gonna call that lady after I get off the air with you guys and try to set up so I can get the books over there, because I was surprised. I'm really surprised and humbled by the amount of traction about this. I mean that is getting.
So here's another tough question. Have you thought about getting it in audio format?
Well, I'm gonna try all avenues. But this right now is this, and yeah.
The reason why I asked that question, I don't know if you noticed, but you're sitting in front of a blind man.
Yeah, I noticed it.
Oh, you noticed?
I went in front of face and do all that. No, I was joking. No, I respect that a whole lot.
I'm a blind person.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
we have a book, not a book, but a library called the Library for the Blind.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be up in Golden Rock, across from the courthouse.
Yeah.
And now it's merged with the Florence Williams Library.
Right.
So now it's now downtown, in the Florence Williams Library. So those books are in audio format. We get them on cartridges, and we can also download it from the National Library Service. So.
Okay, I would go down there and or you could get, if you got information, point me in the direction.
You can speak to Nina Garcia.
Nina Garcia, yes. Sure. Respect that, sir. I want it should be open to everyone. Nina
Garcia.
Yeah,
she's a librarian for the Library for the Blind and Physically
Disabled,
yeah. So she'll tell you, or more or less will have an idea what you can do to get it over there.
Yes, that's no problem, sir. I respect that 100%, and it's cool. The guy one of the things I marvel at is that people, you can't help for what you get.
Right.
My father got hurt a certain time, and he had walked with a limp, but he want nobody touch it. He from that generation. He was that kind of guy. He do what he had to do. He got on there and get he bush and everything. And a lot about bush and stuff and healing and that kind of stuff. But here's the way you have to do and tight up with the way you have to do it and adapt to the walk.
Yeah.
I will go and check her out.
I've been blind for 13 years. Huh? I've been blind for 13 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's that. You should be. I give you credit for not giving up on that and just sitting home and waiting for everybody to do everything. I see that a lot of those people that have a little deficiency are very go about the lifestyle, and that's what you have to do. You're still alive, right?
Yeah. Well, people are psychosis.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
Because I just do so much things that otherwise persons in my position don't do.
Right.
Like take for instance, just getting up here.
Yeah.
You won't blind people won't climb the steps.
Yeah.
I do it at least once a week. And I've been doing it for how long, Doug?
Yeah, you better be careful somebody don't grab you and marry you off when they find out you could cook, you could iron, and you could do all of these things.
You have to put my business out there.
come out the house looking sharp. Everybody want to know how come you ain't clashing. How you do these things. But anyhow, that's all well and good. It's great that what you're doing here, Myron. I ain't trying to blow up your head or nothing, but I look up to you in the context that many people have an idea. It's another thing to take it and run with it, and through the ups and downs to stick with it and to bring it to reality. All right. So it's not a small thing, but it's something that anyone, if they're inspired and want to apply themselves, can do the same thing in their lives and in their family. And I want to say to folks, you don't have to be a hero. All you have to do is be a member of the community that you as their child or their relative or the person that studied them wants to make sure that those aspects, those things about that person live on. Write a book, do a video documentary, do whatever, but do something for that person's legacy to make sure that it will live on beyond the word of mouth, because our mouths eventually go quiet, whereas the digital, you have a fighting chance that it's going to continue out there. All right. Okay. um there's I see Josh hovering there. We're gonna do some ads.
Yeah, you got
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I hear the
Okay.
marshal coming out. Like,
You
All
have
right.
you have a thing to yank you off the air.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
brother.
okay. Well, we run the ads and then we come back. I got something for you.
Yeah, well, before I say quickly, thanks for the opportunity there.
Well, it ain't done. Don't go away. All right.
Right. Okay. We're still on
Going fast,
Facebook,
man.
but we're off the radio. Yeah, just 30 minutes quick. Hey, Mr. Nibs, give me a second. We just busted into a break. Okay.
Okay, good.
That's it, right?
All right. Please hold. Oh no, we got another 30 minutes if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still got some more
Okay,
time.
wow. Sorry.
Oh yeah, we're off the radio, but we're still on Facebook. Just so you know.
Hughes Photo in the Sunny Isle Shopping Center has been a household
Yeah.
for 25 years and is still standing firm in meeting the needs
I really pushing people to get the book and to look at it for the greater detail that's in the book, because this is just an overview. There is it is so much more in this Kalaloo
our work. And if you want it done right, see the
that
experts
they
But dog, I
you
can't
have
see
to
the
get.
book.
Huh?
I can't see the book. What are you talking about?
That's all right. He gonna walk on you. Don't worry about
Got
that.
the grill, man.
There you go.
Very well.
No?
Audio no.
Audio. With my voice.
There you go. Yeah, man. Make it authentic.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We coming back off of this break. We've got Mr. Nibs on line 1. But yeah, coming back. 3, 2.
Okay, we are back, and we got a caller who want to get in on this conversation. So let's see what they got to say. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to say congratulations to Bomba Alex.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, very good. And it is the second time in as many days I heard an author giving, what you would say, giving notice of those that have assisted them in the writing. And that is good.
Yes.
That is good.
Yes.
It was on Tuesday that I heard Mario was talking from a book that said that it was George Tyson and Ross Christopher that gave the author some insight. And then today you repeated many others that has helped you. That's very good. But let me ask you, Junie, is this your fourth book or how many?
Well, I co-authored a book way back on an experience with Fountain Valley with Harold Woolacks.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yes, yes.
The Massacre in
Okay.
Paradise. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And, you know, the thing is this, and I keep telling Mario, I said, Mario, you got to help me. I got 4 manuscripts that I somehow can get to be published because I always have them with me and I'm making notes all the time and changes and running it through the computer again. You know, it's kind of hard, but they will get published. I have set 2025 and to get the first one out, which is the name of it was would have been or would be Politics, not politics, in the Virgin. Okay.
Right.
And the other one is should be very easy. It's an autobiography of myself. I would say that I did nothing. So that's very easy to say.
Well,
No, but continue, man. Continue, get some more books out. And of course, beginning with Bud Bryan addition or the revelations of history, all of these writings should be in the schools so that our children could know from whence they came. Thank you very much.
yeah, okay, thank you. And since I'm on that vein, yeah, I'd like to thank the people from Access Louis and our staff, Caribbean Writers Press, for getting me to this, getting to me to chisel it, let's say chisel the book into where it is today, because I had a rough draft and everything else, and then they came and added a little bit of should I say life to the book. you know it's a difference when you're writing and but it came out. I'm very pleased with them, and she was very instrumental in what I, very, very supportive of what I had in as a rough draft, and chisel it to the book that it is today. So I got to take my hat off to Alcess and her crew.
Yes, yes. Some of the scholars that look at my scribbling, they say, you don't make up word, you got the word, that can't be you.
Yeah, my mother used to call it craftfoot and hangers, man.
Craftfoot and hangers, that's right. But we know what we mean.
Yeah. Exactly.
You see? Yes. Okay, good again, man. Big up to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for the compliment. You take care.
All right, thanks for calling.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't realize we in the island here have our own dialogue.
Yeah.
Well, one of the themes that I see that keep coming out is the father-son relationship from your grandfather and your father and your father and yourself. And you talked about that scene. I could see it right now in my mind. The boat going and you there with your father, the listening to the radio back in them days, and you talked about a particular achievement that came over the radio. Just tell people a little bit about that, because this father-son thing is so important, whether you are a person's father or a mentor in their life. It's something that's very important and can make a lasting impression. Hey, mothers, ain't taking nothing away from you. Don't beat me up on the street when you see me.
Yeah, everybody had a role to play in this whole scheme of thing, especially in the period of time that I grew up. Yeah, but usually during the weekend when we were on vacation from school. On Sundays, my father would be going to Buck Island, because Saturday was dedicated to cleaning, doing your homework, or whatever you had to do in our household. So I would have to catch a taxi to catch him when he was going to Buck Island, and he used to go catch an Abramson bus, and I used to go all the way through, hearing all the ranky tanky. But anyhow, on Sundays, first thing I had to go to 6 o'clock mass and make sure I go to church, and that was something that was X in our DNA. Every son is church, so you have to go to church before you go. And then you fix me a quick little bag with some sandwich and stuff. And I go to the Peter Christian car and I catch the bus and we get there. And he would be there, and the part of the thing that what you're talking about. We were going to go sailing on the II that day, and I was, as soon as you get to Christians, I had to run to the dock because he had tourists on the boat and they were getting ready to leave, but he would wait for me. So anyhow, when we wait, and it was really a refreshing thing to go sailing with him because this boat was called the II. Sorry about that. This boat was named the II. They knew it made in St. Croix. My father helped him with designing the boat and like that. Anyhow, sorry about that. So to go for sailing on the II was a good experience because the boat had a pontoon in the middle. You could lie in the pontoon, and while we go sailing, going to Buck Island, you feel the splash of the water on you and everything else. So that was very invigorating for me. So my father would always have a radio with him, and he was listening. And the time I'm talking about, 1967, when we had a little league, and then that year that we had a little league, it was a league between the whole island, and I also had to weave into that those days when your mother sent you down to play ball, after a certain time you have to get back home. So sometimes the game going on, she said, okay, be back here by this time, otherwise you're going again. So from the time the game on, I'd sprint from what we live on Queen Cross, we have sprint from the ball field all the way home. And the year I'm talking about 1967, as I said, I got to awarded the batting champion of St. Croix, which was in the league. I had both tongues when so I felt achieved, and that happened in my life. And the next thing I gave me, also assisted me in being a good baseball player and looking at baseball is that Horace Clark lived across the street from us in Frederickstead when we live in town. It's 33 Queen Cross Street. He lived on 33 Queen Street, so he was right next to us. And anytime he was in town, we got the opportunity to go down at the ball field because in those days they had no lights. So those guys would go down there from especially in the summertime, they go down there from 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they'll be practicing it. And then might add here that they had a lot of people that made it to the major leagues and minor leagues from the Virgin. And we were like where Santo Domingo is now to major league baseball. Virgin Islands were like that, and you could talk about St. Thomas, you could talk about Melwood Civil, you could talk about Mr. Santos, Redhead Santos. You had so many different players that from here at that period of time to go and play professional ball in Puerto Rico. You had Mumps, you had Joe Christopher. I could go on and on about all these different stars that made us that we look at what we're seeing now, and our young people ain't really interested in that. In fact, what happens to some of our talented young people, they go away to the States to school and they make a name for themselves up there. I have, for instance, Real Saki Data. She's in college right now, but she made her mark going up. She had to go up to school to actually get to the level that she is right now. Because look at what happened after Little League here. There's no Pony League. Had Pony League, and they had the recreation department actually ran the leagues, and they did the umpiring. So it gave the children them something to do,
Okay, but don't forget the boat. The scene on the boat?
Oh yeah.
Need to finish the circle and the scene.
Okay, the scene on the boat. I said the boat had a pontoon in the middle, and I was just lay and I would catch the sea blast from the boat when we sail into Buck Island. And when my father would turn on the radio, to listen to sports. And when he listened to the sports and they used to advertise, in those days, advertise who was hitting and whatever else. And he heard that, I was, as I said, I won batting champ 1969. I was the batting champ of the whole island because it included all the the boys from the islands, from St. Croix, and he would listen to the great Trevor Heiliger, on the weekend sports on Saturdays. And when after he heard what Trevor said, he just shut the radio off. And in them days, it wasn't, oh, good job, son, good job. He just put his head and he just keep saying, but I was gratified that he was there listening to it, no? Because again, I didn't think he used to do it, but he used to listen to all that stuff, and it made me motivated when I go on the field. And I go say, today I'm gonna get 3 hits, I'm gonna strike out or whatever, So it helped us along. And again, I forward on into what actually killed a lot of sports in the Virgin Islands, especially on St. Croix. It was after the Function Valley killings and everything else. Everything just went totally dead on the island. And I'll stop there.
Okay, all right. Well, the key is we have the book, Wilfred Elisha Alec, better known in the community as Bomba. And this is a story of a Virgin Islands hero that every Virgin Islander should know and read and know their history to the extent that it's being shared with them. And this book is being launched this Sunday at the UVI Great Hall between the hours of 1 and 4. And during that time, you'll be there comfortable because they're going to have refreshments. You're going to have a captive situation there, having Myron Alec there to be able to sign the book. If you would like to have your copy of the book signed by him, there's going to be your friends and family and other people there. So you're going to be the chit chat and the catching up in the process. And who knows what little tidbit of information may come out that may surprise you or impress you or inspire you. So plan to be there at UVI on this coming Sunday, the 24th, from 1 to 3 to get your copy of the book, get it signed, talk to the author in the process, and it's an opportunity. Be there and be a part of the passing of the torch of history, even if it's to receive it and read it and have this book in your library as a gift to your legacy in the process. But be there, all right?
Now, also, Doug, if you don't mind, I like also go back and give a little insight to my family, because I speak about my 7th generation
Yes, do it.
African slave worker named Diana, who was brought to St. Croix, as a 30-year-old slave, purchased by the Reverend Cicely Goodchild. I said that to a lady one day, an elderly lady, and she was amazed and said, she didn't know that priest and thing owned enslaved was involved with slavery. And I said, yeah, that they were very much involved with it. He had owned a plantation in Claremont, and then he bought Class of Nugent and moved them over there. But then there's some other information that might have been lost in history regarding some of the hardship that our family had to go through at that period of time. I know if you ever pass, like when you're going to the airport, you'll see like a little stone structure there in white, and you look at it and you might say, your body might just look at it and say, what's the purpose of that? And over by Henry's we call it Henry over, yeah,
Schuster, over by
Henry Schuster. You'll see an old replica of that. That was a real one, but it's broken down now and stuff. I took pictures of that. That's all part of the book. And these small, crude structures, and these were where they had the hole in pens for, and this is part of our history. It's part of our history and what things that were hardship our forefathers faced. And these were holding pens for like the young children. So when it's enslaved women had to go work in the fields, and you were working from most of the time sun up to sundown, had to leave them in these structures unprotected. Because from the time you got to be like 9 years old, you were out in the fields working. So anything at 8 day, all those children was housed in there until the mothers came back from the field to go back home with them. and they were susceptible to something that's called the man rats. You know, these big rats would actually come in, and when no one was there to chase them away, they would injure the children, sometimes kill them. You know, they would bite them up and everything. Some things that you might never hear in the history books in the Virgin Islands, but was serious things that happened through the enslavement period in the islands. You know, so I just want to get that in. All that is part of the book, and you'll get to read that and a lot of other things that went on with after when we were under Danish rule, because there wasn't kind things. You know, we got the Danish, we in dark with them now, but there wasn't kind things that happened to our forefathers. So that, in effect, in my family, being a seventh generation on my father's mother's side, and I'm being a sixth generation on the Saki side, those are some of the hardship our forefathers suffered through.
All right. Well, just I want to interject on something you were saying there with those buildings. You know, we have to be more vigilant. I remember there was the seeing one down there going past the airport, heading toward the housing community down there. The name escapes me at the moment. Okay, when you pass you're on the East Airport Road, you get onto the airport road after you pass the airport, where they used to have the gas uh, distribution down there at the end. Okay, I remember seeing one along the road there. You had the one
You
there
have one right
by
up there by, not to cut you off, you got one right up there by across from Sunny Isle as well.
Sunny Isle, yeah, that's where by the Red Cross.
Yes.
Okay, and just as a note, once upon a time along the East Airport Road, they used to have these flamboyants. So when they were in bloom, my father would take the family out on a drive. And it's so impressive that all of those trees that were there when they were in bloom, of course, now they're no longer there. These are little things. But as you pass through there and getting close to Tipsy Restaurant, you you had two pillars there. And I believe they were pillars that like to an entrance onto a plantation.
Yeah.
One of them is gone. Like somebody either lick up and it broke it up or whatever, and the other one is there holding on. And I'm saying to myself, when is someone going to step up and say, "Hey, this is historic and it needs to be preserved in some kind of way," and maybe we could replicate and rebuild one on the other side of the road to match the one that survived, um, because these are treasures, and when they're gone, they're gone.
Well,
It's just one of those
wasn't it
things.
like a complete arc at one point?
Huh?
Was it that the two of them never used to touch?
No, 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 no. They want one on each side of the road.
I know, but I thought at one point it used to touch. Maybe it's my
I,
imagination.
if there was an arch there or something, I don't recall that. But I'm just saying
This was
that
years. This was years ago.
right, right, right. They used to be this dam that used to have a little waterfall that people used to like to see, and somebody bought the land, and from what I understand, they destroyed the dam. It's these things that give character to St. Croix, and we have to understand that it's bigger than any one individual. It's something that the community have to take ownership of and preserve. Well, Myron, it's now 9:53. At 10 o'clock, the marshal will come in and they
Yeah,
ain't gonna do you nothing. They're gonna put
you're a
me in
young
jail.
kid.
And they don't let for some reason whenever they put me in the jail, they don't let Gerard go. So anyhow, but no,
So
seriously,
yeah,
I am so happy to have you here today. Okay?
yeah.
I'm happy to have you here today to talk about this book and to help promote it in the context of, I believe that it's one of the things that should be on everybody's shelf if they, as a matter of Virgin Islands pride, history, culture, tradition, those type of things. Yeah. Okay, folks, the
But,
book launch. Mhm.
yeah,
Go ahead.
you're signing off now.
Yeah, just
No, no, no,
about.
no, 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 no. I just
Yeah, a couple,
talk
in five, ten
coming
minutes.
back to the fact that the book launch for the book. Okay, and holding it up here, everyone can see it. It's Sunday, this coming Sunday, May 24th, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the UVI Great Hall. All right. You will not be inconvenienced if you show up there in any which way because they're gonna have refreshments. You're gonna have full access to the author if you want your copy signed. And of course, you're going to see other people there, and you're going to chit chat and things that we do when we come together in these type of environments about these types of things, right? So I want to also again big up all of the people that you mentioned, Myron, and in particular Alces for uh, her persistence in making sure that these things go beyond the idea and get all the way to the fruition of being printed and available to the public. All right.
Yeah, if you don't mind, also I like to have, the book also goes into a little bit of some of the experience that our forefathers experienced, especially on the island of St. Thomas as well. You ever heard about the coal woman of St. Thomas?
Yep.
They load the boats with fuel, and they had to carry them up gangplank. Sometimes the baskets, and they had sometimes it's like about 50 to 100 pounds that weight they carry on their head, and they had to go up these gangplanks to service these boats, loading coal onto the ships. Another thing is I wanted to say before I leave is about Waco and the politics of Waco when because when America was going into World War I and they wanted the Virgin Islands, they actually didn't want St. Croix. They only wanted St. Thomas based on the harbors that they had, good harbors that they had. So, but they bought the islands from Denmark for 23 million in gold. And I'm just gonna be brief on it. And then when I guess it was in like 1973, and somehow during that process, the Danes got to hold on to Waco. After they bought it, the Danes held on to Waco, and they resold it to the Virgin Islands. And when they resold it to the Virgin Islands, they actually sold it for $25 million, money, cash money. Why I say that is because at the time of the transfer, I think in doing my research and things, that should have been given to the people of the Virgin Islands at the time of the transfer. But they held on to that, and then like they got two payments for that. They carried Virgin Islands 25 million in gold, and now they had to go and pay another 23 million in gold. I had to go pay now the Danish for Waco $25 million, and to obtain Waco.
Yeah. Well, I echo.
But all of this thing I've woven into the book and to make it the book that it is.
Yes, and it's important because in what you point out, we have to learn from our history. Because that very same thing of not doing our due diligence from our perspective, sometimes we end up paying in the way of outsourcing of jobs because we didn't write it into the contract that those jobs have to stay here in the Virgin Islands and those type of things. This is still happening. And so it's great that you point that out so we can learn more from our history and make
Yeah,
sure that if there's any repetition, it's the parts that we want.
yeah. But it's good to us for know these things and our children to know these things because again, it that to pay for and they took money from agencies, that could have been beneficial for the Virgin Islands to have. So I just gave it back to us because I got paid for it. And you can imagine that this place that WAF might have generated billions of dollars to the Danish people.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
and we could
All right.
definitely have used some of that money for what the conditions that we're in these days. Going to Washington to try and get money. So anyhow,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, once again, I recognize your stick to itiveness in going from inspiration to actually putting pen and pencil to paper, and all the people that who guided you along the way and who assisted you along the way in terms of the editing and everything else. These things have come together to create another uh, gem of the Virgin Islands in the form of this book, and it's up to us to make sure through this book launch that we take that gem and we mount it and put it there to shine and to reflect the light for all to see.
50
I
years in the
thank you.
making, my friend. 50 years.
Yep. Yep, exactly, and in the making, and here it is now, folks. This Sunday, UVI Great Hall from 1 in the afternoon to 3. Be there, partake of the book and the refreshments and the conversation with the other folks that you'll see there. Uh, I'd love to have been there myself, but as you know, which maybe you didn't know, I'm up in Massachusetts at the moment. Okay.
And before I go, I'm gonna I'm gonna have some books to I'm gonna take the undercover bookstore today. I'm gonna go right there right after the program, and Carly called me about it.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. All right.
The book will
Well,
be
you
available there.
yes, yes. Good thing, good thing. All right. Well, you have a great and wonderful day, brother. And
And thanks for
thank
the
you for
opportunity, man.
my pleasure. And thank you for the gift to your community.
All
All
right, thank
right.
you.
All right.
Good thing, good thing.
Have a great day.
All
No,
right,
it's
folks. To
time
that point,
to go. Miss
Jared.
Marshall is here. You hear the music playing. Dougie? Anyway, we have come full circle. This guy laughing. I want the public to remember. Hey, if you or your loved one have hearing and vision loss, the I Can Connect program is for you. Just visit icanconnect.org or call us at 340-692-4267. Until next time, it's Doug and
Peace
Jerry
out.
saying peace out.
Go, Josh. All right, rocking.